Okay, hello everybody. This is Tyler with Big Hairy Dog. Quick webinar today going over how to set up Krunch auto reports and emails, or scheduled reports and scheduled emailed reports. My name is Tyler. I'm with the training team at Big Hairy Dog. Let's get started. In order to use email with Krunch reports in Retail Pro Prism, you have to configure email server settings. Today, we're going to use a Gmail account that I built for the purpose. Please contact Big Hairy Dog if you need assistance with this step. Okay, I'm not going to go into the technicalities of SMTP ports and the like today. But in order for your email to send from the reporting software or from Retail Pro Prism, you have to configure email server preferences. Now, I have these settings memorized. Google is pretty simple. The trick with a Gmail account is to use an app password. So again, let Big Hairy Dog know if you need any help with these steps. I don't want to take time in the webinar to go through Gmail account management, but I'm getting an app password. This is a password dedicated to this tool. And don't worry, feel free to steal that password. I'm going to go ahead and delete this after the after the webinar recording. But I built a Krunch single-use password. It's only going to be used for Krunch. What I like to do is open up a notepad, document my one-time app password, delete the spaces. I'm going to need to use this instead of my account password for Krunch. Again, I'm not going to go into the nuance of this. Big Hairy Dog will quickly take care of this with a Gmail account for you, and we can normally work with any other email account like Microsoft Office 365 and various other email hosts. But it is the first part of the puzzle when it comes to emailing reports. There are also settings in Prism itself for emailing receipts. This is different, separate, and they would have to be configured separately, preferably with separate app passwords. Okay, I'm logged into my Krunch administrator here. I went ahead and saved this information for Google. It's going to be pretty much the same, but you'll need to use your own login information. Okay, we can sign out of admin. We can close our little notepad. I would save that app password. I can always delete and regenerate a new one, but do save it in your notepad or on a sticky note somewhere safe for password security. Probably don't write it down on a piece of paper and leave it under your keyboard. It will allow access to your email account in certain situations. So protect that app password. And like I said, since you've now seen it, I'm going to be deleting this at the end of the webinar recording. That said, I've now configured Krunch to be able to email a report. Okay, that happened in the admin login as opposed to the report user login. So let Big Hairy Dog know if you need help setting that up, or send us a chat or an email and we can send you some instructions and some tips on how to get email set up for reports. What can I do now that email has been set up? Well, I can run a generic report, which is not what today's training is on. I hope anybody who's using Krunch has been able to work out how to do their date filters, just like this. We'll go ahead and run this. Actually, let's run for today's sales. So I'm going to apply my sales filter. Here's some stuff that I sold today. We see the mail icon. If you run a report, you may export via email immediately. Okay. Now, those of you who know Krunch might know that you want to maybe add some sums at this time. There's more to talk about when it comes to saving totals on a report. Okay. But I would encourage you, if this is a one-off report, to double check computations. Add them so that when you run the export, those totals will show up on your exported PDF or Excel sheet. On the topic of export, once I have filtered and modified my report where applicable, you always want to close your settings to get a good grand total view of your report. But on the topic of exports, you may simply dump this to Excel or PDF right here. Okay. If you're working on this computer and you want to go crunch some numbers, run an XLSX export. A lot of buyers will probably live like that. We have the PDF option, and let's take a moment before we talk more about email to talk about our export options for PDF. The output type, I usually leave it standard but set to page width, fit to page width. I have not worked with templates. We can use letter for a report this size. If it seems like it's going to fit on letter size paper when fit to page, landscape it, and show filter information. I want to see my date that I filtered for and possibly any other filters that I've applied. This is important for you bookkeepers because you need to know the data, the time frame of the data we're evaluating. This is a sales report for today, being May 6th, and our exported report will show that. This is important because when you email reports, you need to decide on the format of the report that you will be using. CSV, comma separated values, is a more simplistic visual format, but is very useful for certain imports and exports with things like contact lists. XLSX is a traditional spreadsheet using Excel, which gives you a lot of data manipulation control. Not that we would want to manipulate our data, but to be able to view it in different ways and to take segments of data and to create your own tables in Excel, it's a great tool. And then the PDF, for those of us who are just looking for the visual reference, you will want to use PDF, and that's where the output type settings all come into play. I get the most mileage making sure that I've had a custom report cleaned up to fit a smaller page. I get the best mileage with these settings right here when I'm exporting to PDF. Okay, if you have an enormous report, switch yourself over to A4. If you're going to be printing it, stick with letter. Fit to page width is going to shrink text if you do a letter size large report. But if you needed to print it, that might be the only way to go about it, unless you've got A4 paper lying around, right? So I do get a lot of mileage with the settings that you see on screen now. PDF, standard output type, fit to page width, letter size, landscape orientation, and show filter information. Okay, so I just pushed the export button, and what that's going to do is give me a download with today's date and the time, although no extra filter information in the file. So if you did a customer filter, it won't show your customer name here. It's only going to have a timestamp. It also leaves a copy in the Outputs tab within Krunch. So I might have run a few exports over time. We see the scheduled weekly or daily report run here of another thing. Admittedly, this is my lab environment, so I've been testing scheduling and different reports at different times. We'll talk about scheduling in a moment, but the point is when you export, you get a copy of the file archived in the Outputs tab for you to download again on demand. Clicking this will download a new copy through your browser. Okay, so that's simple running and exporting. The whole point of this conversation is to take that a step or two further, right? So we're going to go back to the simple sales summary. Filter and run. I'm going to have to go through and apply my date filter again. Sold date today, add, apply. All right, so there's our product. Let's go ahead and add these. If in doubt, and you see these here, make sure that you've added them so that they are available on the export. If these teal boxes are not visible or saved to the report, the export will not contain your totaling information, okay? So we all know and love Krunch, and we have to understand that sometimes the gremlins get us. So when I ran this report, my subtotals were there, and I am just going to be diligent because I want to ensure that they show up on my export. I'm going to re-add the sums here. Again, a saved customized report from Big Hairy Dog should be saved with your aggregate totals down here like this. We can save a custom report to be formatted like that. We will talk about saving a date filter as well to run this report on a schedule in a moment. But here, we've applied all of our filtering, so we're good to go. I used the export button a moment ago. Today we'll talk about, or next we will talk about the email button. Same concept as export, so you'll see the different options depending on your format type. My rules apply here for a simple report. This is maybe a dozen columns. I know it's going to fit on letter size. We'll go ahead and plop in an email address, and I might say sales summary 56. Here is your report, me. Okay, pretty straightforward email, subject header, blah, 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 blah. Set your formatting settings, click OK. If your email preferences are not set up correctly, you will get an error instead of an email confirmation. Please remember that. Okay, we can go to our mailbox and check our sent, and there's a sales summary report that has just been sent. Okay, and if we check our mailbox, which I'm going to do on another screen. It might take a moment. I'll let you know as soon as I see that email come in, and we'll look at the results. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. If your settings are correct, push the button, set your export type, set your subject and your body of the email. Go ahead and send it. We didn't get an error message, and it's in the sent box, so that's something to check. Your sent mailbox. Make sure that it gets sent at the time you did it. So we see our time stamp, that's universal time. But this was sent 1 minute ago. Okay. In my email, which I will not bring on screen, there it is. Here's your sales summary email delivered about a minute later in PDF format. Right? Now, fitting to page width just got everything just right here, but those of you coming from V8 and V9 will notice it's not just right. So unfortunately, we don't have the traditional alignment tools that we had using Crystal reports in Retail Pro 9. We also have some different formatting concerns with subtotaling and grand totaling. Please reach out to Big Hairy Dog. We are well versed in working around this and improving your experience. If you're a visual nitpicker, you know, this might be a little hard to read. If you're a data person, there's no problem with it, right? This would come out to Excel beautifully. Minute is a report with a daily total. I believe I was grouping by day, not just filtering, but grouping. I was grouped by subsidiary. Okay, so that's a subsidiary subtotal and a grand total if I had multiple subsidiaries, right? Take the formatting with a grain of salt. We'll do everything we can to improve it for you. Okay, let us know if you need custom reports. If you need to clear out columns like subsidiary, we'll do it. No big deal. Just keep us in the loop and let us know. So that was manual reporting. Okay, what if I want this report to run every day after the store closes, or every morning before I come in for the previous day? Well, I know you didn't ask, but I'm glad you asked. Okay, we're going to take our simple sales summary and we are going to edit this. Okay, why are we editing it? Because I need to save filter information for it to run on a schedule with a predefined date. Well, what if you can't edit? You will notice that all of these reports are under my name. I am the report user. I would have taken a report and either created one or duplicated a stock report. You may want to try to do that. This is not an advanced Krunch training session, so there are some caveats and some tricks to duplicating a report. But just note, if you're going to schedule something, you probably should duplicate and edit it. Okay, I'll show you how I would do that with a custom report. Let's flip to all owners, Tyler, and we're not in sales. Let's go to the Tyler folder, simple sales summary. One, you could duplicate and then edit, but I'm going to go straight to edit and we'll save it with a new file name. Okay, so here we are, expert mode editing. Read this if you want. Don't mess with your SQL query. We'll do that for you. Thank you very much. Pre-process filter runtime fields. I would recommend if you're duplicating that you do this step. So yeah, you'll probably need dedicated training with Big Hairy Dog. It's just beyond the scope of this webinar today. But the short version is check then make sure at the very least that your created date time is set as a date and give it a better name because it's going to show up like that. In this case, I'm not going to touch anything on this right now. I haven't refreshed the code or anything. I don't need to touch anything. I like those values. A duplicated report should give you something like that. Okay, field settings. Here, I just need to make sure that my dollar amounts are all decimals. They are. I'm all good with that. Configure report result. We see grouping and aggregates or computations or subtotals. Let's apply a receipt number group. I'd ask you all to help me, but you're not on the call. This is a recording. This is a summary report, so it does not have receipt numbers. Let's flip it to vendor instead, and we'll get vendor grouping with vendor aggregate subtotaling further down the report. Scroll, 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 subtotals. Okay, this is unfiltered at this time. That's the next conversation. I am duplicating or I'm editing a report. I have this opportunity to fine tune my grouping and my aggregates. But the real trick here for a scheduled report is to save a date filter. If I want this report to run every day at the end of the day, it needs to know what it's evaluating. And in that case, we need to save it with a today filter. So I'm using the same filter menu that you've all been trained on. I will add and apply. If you're using a date range, you know there's extra steps there. But today I can add apply, and then I'm going to scroll all the way down here, and I'm going to call this something different. And what I would recommend for you is as you save it, focus on the group here. And what I've been doing for folks, because once this is scheduled, we don't want to touch it. We don't want to break the schedule, right? So I like to put it in a scheduled group. If you do not have a scheduled group, just type into the box and then select, and that will make you a new group. Okay, so if scheduled isn't in the list, that's what I would do. Okay, now we're going to give it a new name and scheduled sales summary. We'll call this scheduled daily, right? So I've saved the report as a new version with a saved filter. I went to edit the report, I added the filter, and I'm giving it a new name and putting it in a new place. My starting point has not been edited. Okay, that other report, the simple sales summary, is not going to be changed. I'm creating a whole new report, and the intention is to put it on a schedule. And if I'm going to put it on a schedule, I need to edit and save a date range. Okay. Pardon the nested scroll bars. They drive me nuts too. All right, we're going to save our new report. So now let's go find it. I built the scheduled group. There you go. This icon means that we successfully saved a date range. So when I immediate run it, it's going to run for today. Okay, lovely little thing. Just don't edit a scheduled report. That's the trick here. You can immediate run this thing all day and it'll always filter. But you do not want to filter and run or edit and change that filter or it could break your scheduling. Okay, so I went and found my scheduled report. The next icon on our list is the schedule button right here. By scheduling a report, it puts it into the report schedules. Okay. Again, if you want to schedule an email run, then you need to have email settings configured. If you don't go that route, you could still set up scheduled reports and export to a folder of your choosing. Well, you would have to go and dig it out of Krunch in the outputs column, but it'll still run a report and make it available for you. Okay, so I could schedule without emailing, but the real convenience win comes when our spreadsheets are hand delivered to us by the system, or our end of day totals are hand delivered to us by the system. So I want this to run daily. My business closes at 7 p.m. This is military time. And I want to run the report 30 minutes after they close the register. We'll call it an hour. We'll run it at 8 p.m. The store closes at 7. I want it to run daily at 8. Military time, 24-hour format. And who do I want it to go to? Why did I stop talking? Because I'm typing and I don't think you need me to explain some of this stuff. Do what you want here. For you inventory and buyer types using large reports, probably Excelling it. For people doing sales summaries like the one I had in small environments without a lot of columns, PDF it. Okay. Now you'll note sometimes these settings do change depending on where you're using them. So I haven't played with this in the scheduler today, so I had to select my settings again. Again, I have the best functionality for most reports with those 4 settings. Okay. We'll call it 5. Standard, fit to page width, letter, landscape, show filter information. Okay. So I click OK. When I clicked PDF, it gave me those options. We get a recap down here. CSV and Excel don't have those. What I do is save as a new. If I was editing a schedule, which you could do via the schedules menu, I would go and save one that I had already existing. But this is a new one, so we're going to save as a new. Now we see scheduled daily sales summary. It's going to run today at 2000, 8 o'clock. I'm not going to keep you on the webinar until that runs. This has just been a short conversation, as short as I could make it and as informative as I could make it, without getting into the weeds of Krunch, on setting up scheduled reports. So to recap, remember that you must duplicate or edit a report to save the filter. To do that, you need to be the owner, so you should probably duplicate a report if you're going to edit it, right? Once you have a report set up the way you like it, with aggregate totals, grouping, and a saved filter, you then go into the report, or rather click on it, and use the schedule clock button to set up a schedule, and then you may review your scheduled report runs in schedules. And at 8 o'clock tonight, I will get a recap of my sales. So short and sweet. I didn't have any attendees except some AI note takers. We'll see how good they do with their transcripts. Shout out to you, AI note takers. But yeah, that's it for Krunch, auto reports, and emailing reports. Please let Big Hairy Dog know, or your local IT staff know, if you need help with the email server settings. And I hope this encourages you to build some more reports or ask for some more reports. At the end of the day, we need the data. Data-driven decisions are the best decisions. And this is our primary tool for the purpose. So reach out to Big Hairy Dog, the training team, Jeff, or myself. My name is Tyler. Let us know what you need from your reports, and then we'll get them on a schedule with you. So thank you for listening to this retroactively for those of you watching the recording. I wish you the best success with your businesses and with Krunch reports. We will be here to support you the whole time. So thanks again. Have a great day.